And a good Saturday evening to you all, and happy November. We have made it. It is the 11th month out of the year. We are almost at the end of 2025, and my God, the years just keep on going faster and faster. Speaking of that, boy, that is ironic as we slide in the beer because the years have definitely gone by for this one. Always have to give it to Abita Brewing down in Covington, Louisiana, because they do the painted bottles. I do like the painted bottles. They look very nice. But this is the Macchiato Espresso Milk Stout, a stout with coffee added, brewed with espresso dolce beans. That sounds good. 6% also sounds good. However, what doesn't sound good is the year, 2016. That would be, 9 years old. 9 years old. This is relatively low alcohol. However, we're going to find out. We're going to find out together, aren't we? So, okay. We have carbonation. All right, we are good to go. I like that. I like it when we're actually good to go and I don't have to redo the intro with another beer and potentially wash out a glass, but in this case, for the backup, I won't have to. You know, for as old as it is, the amount of carbonation in there actually shocks me. This is going to be a fun one, I think. So let's flip and let's talk. We're back. We have beer. Beer smells good. Watch. Just watch. Here's my luck. Watch. It smells good, looks good, sounded good, had carbonation. Watch me taste it, and it's rancid. But it shouldn't be. No, we've got coffee. Obviously. And that's about it. Just very light coffee, like you just got a very light iced coffee. I'm going to actually move this around because I'm constantly reaching over here. And I know one day I'm just going to tank the bottle that's sitting there. So let us see how this goes. 9 years old. We'll see. Okay. It's starting to lose a little. But the coffee, still very prevalent. When they do say milk stout, I do have to say, when they say milk stout, they talk about they actually add extra lactose to kind of give it like a thicker body. That is pretty much dissipated. So it's a very thin stout. Probably, more on a port. If you had just handed it to me, I would probably think it was a porter because of how thin it is. But it matters not because it is quite tasty. Still got a lot of coffee. A lot of coffee bitterness and a little touch of sweetness at the end. You know what? We're good to go. And it's good that we're good to go because it's the Big Ten. That's right, all 18 teams of the Big Ten. I can't make this up if I had to. But weirdly, as I was looking, and I counted earlier because I said, well, there's 18 teams, but there's 19 trophies. I was like, oh man, would have been perfect. But let's just get right in. Although, I do have to say, we will start off with, we have covered a few. I'll put up a list there. This is, we've covered Iowa versus Iowa State, the Cy-Hawk Trophy. Michigan State, Notre Dame for the Megaphone. The three-way battle between Penn State, Pitt, and WVU for the Old Ironsides Monster Trophy. That's gone, or we talked about. And then another pair of Notre Dames, Purdue, Notre Dame for the Shillelagh, and USC and Notre Dame for the Jeweled Shillelagh. We have covered those. Sorry, sports card ripping teacher. Sorry, Vince, but no. Actually, is there any Notre Dame? I wrote this a little bit ago and I cannot actually remember. I don't know, but we're going to find out together. So let's start right off the rip. This is the University of Illinois, the Fighting Illini versus Northwestern. Very close by geographical game. This is for the Land of Lincoln Trophy. The rivalry itself dates back, and I like this. There's some good-looking trophies. Dates back to 1892. But then the original trophy, interesting. Now, this is a trophy progression. The original trophy was a cigar store Indian. One of the old carved, as you would see in the old Western movies and whatnot. But that was stolen. And then from 1945 to 2008, it was replaced by the Sweet Sioux Tomahawk. But then they retired that in 2008. And that currently resides forever at Northwestern. But then in 2009, they brought in the Land of Lincoln Trophy, affectionately nicknamed, and rightfully so, the hat. Illinois currently has the trophy. They lead the series 58-55-5, and the next game at Illinois will be November the 29th. I love it. And thankfully, the Big Ten is keeping some of these alive. Some of the other ones, going to be losing a lot of them. The Big Ten's keeping a lot because there are a lot of old ones. And we're going to stick with, and now here's where it starts to get weird. Illinois versus Ohio State. This is the battle for the Illibuck. I don't know what that is. Well, we all know what that is, but I don't know where it came from. It is a turtle sculpture. The rivalry dates back to 1902, and the original trophy was a live turtle. And they chose that because the feud between Illinois and Ohio State would be long-lived, much like a turtle is. Well, unfortunately, the turtle was only there from 1925 to 1926. In 1926, the turtle passed away. And then it was replaced by the carved statue that you see there. However, they do more and more of them as they're needed. They are on currently the 10th Illibuck, and is the second oldest trophy game and trophy itself in the Big Ten. Ohio State currently has the Illibuck. They lead the series by a good margin, 69-30-4, and next game will be played at some point next year in the 2026 season whenever they announce schedules. And now, sticking with Illinois, once again, this is Illinois and Purdue, another very close rivalry game, geographically that is. This is the battle for the Purdue Cannon. It goes back to 1890, but the trophy, the cannon, that little thing right there, which, by the way, is a live weapon, the Purdue students took the cannon to the game to celebrate the win. Then some of the Illinois people stole the cannon and moved it to a farmhouse. There it stayed, it survived a fire, and came back as a trophy in 1943. For the record, it is now maintained by the Tomahawk Service and Leadership Honorary at Purdue and the Illini Pride. I'm sorry, that was a little bit of a mouthful. Illinois currently has the cannon, but Purdue leads the series by a very slim margin, 48-47-6. Game will be played once again next year, sometime 2026. Sip time. After you talk about a cannon, and like I say, that is those miniature cannons, they can fire, and they are exceedingly dangerous, so be careful. Anybody out there with a cannon, call me. Yeah, that's really nice. That's a lot nicer than I expected it to be, if I'm 100% honest with you. That's a lot nicer than it should be, I think, for 9 years old. Moving on, we're moving out of Illinois, or away from Illinois for the time being. This is Indiana and Michigan State, and this is why I love the Big Ten, because we get the weird trophies. This is for the Old Brass Spittoon. Plus, it's a great word to say, spittoon. So the Old Brass Spittoon goes back, the rivalry, 1922, and then in 1950 is when the tradition started. Class president of Michigan State, a guy by the name of Eugene McDermott, who weirdly was from Allentown, Pennsylvania, of all things. He bought the spittoon from a Lansing antique shop for $25. And he took inspiration from the little brown jug that we will talk about at some point in the near future. And since 1950, they have battled for the Old Brass Spittoon. Why not? And it's been going on a while. Michigan State currently up in the match 50-20-2. However, Indiana has the spittoon. Next time that game will be played, not next year, but the year after, 2027. Look for the Old Brass Spittoon to return. Now, Indiana again. Indiana and Purdue for the Old Oaken Bucket. Who doesn't love a good bucket? They fought a war over a bucket, you know. I talked about it a few weeks ago, so why not have a football game over the bucket? Goes back to 1891, the rivalry. In 1925, and here, actually a cool story. I'm going to read it to you. Bear with me. In 1925, alumni organizations from both schools, Indiana, University of Indiana and Purdue, were tasked to come up with a trophy for a trophy game. And they came up with the idea of a bucket, but the bucket was from an Indiana well. The chain around said bucket would be made of bronze, And in addition, there would be either the letter P or the letter I that the winners would then affix to the chain as they took claim of the Old Oaken bucket. Indiana currently has the bucket. Purdue up in the series, 77-43-6. Next game will be played later on this month, November the 29th of the year 2025. The Old Oaken bucket coming back, folks. Okay, this one. I'm sorry, this one might be one of my favorites up till this point. I've seen some cool ones, but this one might take the cake. This is Iowa versus Minnesota. And the trophy, right there, is Floyd of Rosedale. First off, how regal sounding. Floyd of Rosedale. That is a pig. We'll get to the pig in a moment. For you see, the rivalry itself dates back to 1891, but in 1935, here's where it gets crazy. Minnesota was coming to Iowa to play the game. There were death threats involved. Many, many, many death threats. The governor of Iowa did not do much to quell this whole thing. However, to start to ease the tension, the Minnesota governor at the time, Floyd Olson, stay with me, Floyd Olson said that he would wager a prize hog against the governor of Iowa on the outcome. It worked. Nothing bad happened. There were no incidents. Minnesota did win the game. So, the governor of Iowa, a man by the name of Clyde Herring, went to Rosedale Farms and purchased himself a pig. And delivered it himself in person to the Minnesota governor's mansion to present to Governor Olson. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. You got some people in Iowa that decided we're going to go on a crusade, and they did. They said that this wager violated Iowa's gambling laws. So, it was determined eventually that you could not wager a live pig. So from then on, the statue was made. That statue, that's bronze. That's 98 pounds. That's a 98-pound bronze pig that they play for. I would play for it. I would fight hard for that, for Floyd of Rosedale. Iowa currently has Floyd. Minnesota up in the series, 63-54-2. Game will be played again next season, 2026. Beer time. But in all seriousness, how bored do you have to be to get up in arms over betting a pig in a game? Come on. That's all I'm going to say is come on. All hail Floyd of Rosedale. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, a lot more coffee bitterness. Now, this is kind of a newer trophy. This is Iowa versus Nebraska for what they call the Heroes Trophy. The rivalry itself is old, 1891. And up until the year 2000, it was played very, very sporadically. And you look at the record, there was only 50-some-odd games played since 1891. That'll tell you how sporadically we're talking. And then comes the year 2011. Nebraska joins the Big Ten, and then they create the Heroes Trophy, which then honors people from both states, Nebraska and Iowa. Nebraska currently up in the series, 30-22-3. Iowa has the trophy. The game itself, and also here's another little fun factoid about the Heroes Trophy, always played on Black Friday. Therefore, the Heroes Trophy this year will be played November the 28th, 2025, to see if the Cornhuskers can take back the Heroes Trophy from Iowa. Speaking of Iowa, we're going to stick with them. Iowa versus Wisconsin. This is the Heartland Trophy. Again, come on! An animal trophy for the win. Rivalry 1894. However, the trophy, very new. Only 2004 the Heartland Trophy came around. And it makes sense. Created to represent the location in the Midwest cattle producing area, such and such. That bull is brass. That bull is 72 pounds. And also that bull was designed by Iowa alumni and former player Frank Strubb. Iowa currently has the Bowl. And Wisconsin, very close, up in the series, 49, 48, and 2. Next game, next year, come the schedule announcements. Yeah, I don't know what to say about this one, so we're just going to get into it. This is Michigan State for the Paul Bunyan Trophy, not the axe, the trophy. Yeah. The rivalry goes back to 1898. In 1953, they created this monstrosity, this monster piece, as it were. A 4-foot-tall wooden statue of Paul Bunyan. That's a thing. That's a thing that actually exists in our reality. I just would like you to know that as you continue watching this. It was first, obviously, representative of the logging industry in Michigan, plus that whole area. You know, there's... What is it? I think Bemidji lays claim, Bemidji, Minnesota, lays claim to the quote-unquote birthplace of Paul Bunyan, but be that as it may. It was first presented by Michigan. I don't know why I said Minnesota. Oh, because I was talking about Bemidji. Presented by Michigan Governor G. Menon Williams to commemorate the first year that Michigan State joined the Big Ten to play football, so 1953. Michigan both has the trophy, unfortunately for them, and is up in the series big time, 75, 38, and 5. Next game, next year. We know that game is going to be played again. Always good fun for a good interstate rivalry. Now the one aforementioned. Michigan and Minnesota. I do it in alphabetical order as I go down. This is for the Little Brown Jug. Interestingly enough, the original jug was neither little or brown. It was actually quite large. But another interesting story. The rivalry, 1892. Then in 1903, Fielding H. Yost is the Michigan coach and had been for 2 years. They are on a 28-game win streak, and this is his third year as coach. So they're on a 28-game win streak. Minnesota. Now, it's a 1903 season. They're heading to Minnesota to play them, and they were advised to purchase something that would hold water for fear that Minnesota would do something to contaminate the water supply. So they purchased a 5-gallon, what they called a beehive jug, for 30 cents. That was the jug right there. The game ended in a tie, but Minnesota fans stormed the field, and essentially the game ended with a few minutes left. They just called it, and Michigan left the jug behind. And at that point, the jug became a trophy. Michigan has the jug. Michigan is up in the series, 78, 25, and 3. Next game, we'll be back next year. A lot of these games have already been played already. Michigan again. Michigan versus Northwestern. This is for the George Jewett Trophy. The rivalry, 1892. A lot of these Big Ten ones are very old rivalries. The trophy itself came around very, very recently, 2021, in honor of George Jewett, who was the first African-American to play football at both Michigan and Northwestern. From 1890 to 1893, he played at the University of Michigan and then transferred to Northwestern in 1893 to get his medical degree and played football there as well. Michigan has the trophy, is up in the series 60, 15, and 2. And the next game, very soon, November the 15th, 2 weeks. That's going to be a good one. I like watching these games. I've started to follow these. I've written down the dates of the ones that I talk about that are being played, and I do enjoy following them. And, you know, it's so nice. It's so nice to see the kids getting worked up over something that's not NIL money. Let's just put it that way. Where do we leave off? Michigan, Northwestern. All right, now Michigan State and Penn State. This is for the Land Grant Trophy. An interesting name and a slightly interesting backstory. 1914 was the first time they played, and then in 1993 they came up with the idea for the trophy because it commemorates the two universities, both Michigan State and Penn State, as the first land grant institutions founded by the Morrill Land Grant Act of 1862. Stuff like that, it's weird, but it's kind of cool, and they take it seriously enough to make a trophy out of it. Penn State currently has the trophy and a very slim lead in the series, 19-18-1 record, and the next game will be played the same day as the George Jewett Trophy, November the 15th, in 2 weeks hence. Beer time, because I'm going to need it for this one. This is a good one. We're just getting to the good ones. There's still a couple more really, really interesting ones. And what was that one? Yeah, there is one really good defunct one that I think should be brought back, just because you'll see in a minute. And I'm going to have to flip the page here in a minute. I know you can hear it. And I know it's driving you nuts, and I'm slightly sorry for that. Now, Minnesota versus Nebraska. This is for the $5 Bits of Broken Chair trophy. There you go. I'm just going to tear that Band-Aid off. The $5 Bits of Broken Chair trophy. The rivalry itself goes back to 1900. However, this whole shenaniganry started in November of 2014 with a Twitter back and forth between the Goldie Gopher, the University of Minnesota's mascot, and a parody account of the Nebraska coach, Bo Pelini, that was named Faux Pelini. They went back and forth. It was cordial. A rivalry involved a smashed chair, and then they decided to actually do something with it. They did a crowdsourcing campaign to design a rivalry trophy, and the final design, as you can see in the picture, depicted the broken chair with images of both Goldie Gopher and Bo Pelini on it. That's just awesome. Oh, I put that over there too early. Minnesota has the trophy. The lead in the series, 38-25-2 record. Next game will be played 2 years hence in 2027. Now we get another, we're going to have a bunch of these like the governors, the mayors, cups, and a lot of bells. That's just how it's going to be. So this is Minnesota Penn State for the governor's victory bell. This is a very new one, not just for the trophy, but for the rivalry. The rivalry itself goes back to 1993, not that long ago, because it was the first ever time Penn State and Minnesota ever played football. And it was a collaboration between Minnesota Governor Arne Carlson and Pennsylvania Governor at the time, Robert Casey. They came up with this. Penn State currently has the trophy and leads the series 11-6. Again, hasn't been around that long, 1993. Next game, next season at some point. Remember what I talked about before? Yeah, you do. This is Minnesota and Wisconsin. And this is the battle for Paul Bunyan's axe. Okay. I got a picture of this one too, because some of the previous trophies they actually didn't have a picture of. This one they did. It started in 1890, but from 1930 to 1943, they played for this, the slab of bacon. It is a slab of black walnut wood that has an M, depending on how you look at it. It's either M, turn it upside down, or it's the W for Minnesota and Wisconsin. And bringing home the bacon, as it were. And then in 1948 came the first Paul Bunyan's axe. It is a big honkin' trophy. However, by the time, after a while, like the Stanley Cup, it filled up. So they had to create a new axe, which they did in the year 2000. And in 2003, the original axe was donated to, and where it still lives now, is the College Football Hall of Fame. I cannot remember where the College Football Hall of Fame is. Zach, put it up there, please, and thank you. Currently, this is perfect Thanos. Perfectly even, as all things should be. Minnesota currently has the axe. The record is tied 63-8. This game, November 28th of this year, we will see who will retain control or who will get control of Paul Bunyan's axe. Nebraska, Wisconsin is our next one. This is Nebraska versus Wisconsin for the Freedom Trophy. The rivalry began in 1901, but until the year 2011, the game was only played 5 times just because of conferences and schedules and whatnot. And then in 2014, they created the trophy. The trophy is made, and I like this. This is actually cool looking. Bronze. It's made of bronze and features the designs of both teams' stadium with the American flag in the center. The one half is the east side of Memorial Stadium for Nebraska, and the other half is the north side of Camp Randall Stadium at Wisconsin. Nebraska currently has the trophy, but Wisconsin has a slim lead in the series 13-5. Next game will be played 2 years hence in the year 2027. I really like doing these. And shout out if you went to any of these schools and actually got to see some of these. Beer time. All right, where was I? Oh, I always pause right before the good stuff because I need one for this. We're going interstate rivalry this time. This is Oregon and Oregon State. The Ducks versus the Beavers. What do they play for? That. The Platypus Trophy. Why? Because why not? Actually, I'll tell you why in a moment. The rivalry, 1894. Very old one because they're literally right on top of each other. Then in 1959, they created this trophy because the platypus has essentially the features of both a duck, the University of Oregon, and a beaver for Oregon State. And then it disappeared pretty much immediately. 2 years later, 1961. Platypus gone. Then they rediscovered the platypus in the year 2000 in a closet at Oregon's MacArthur Court. How it got in the closet, nobody knows, but it sat there for 39 years. But then they found it. The platypus is back. Oregon has the platypus, has the lead in the series 70, 49, and 10, 2 years hence, until the platypus battle shall resume. We're winding down. Actually, there's only two more. Wow, I went a lot faster than I thought I did. I apologize if I threw a lot at you in a quick succession, but this is bar talk. This is what we do, because they're going to turn the lights out on us, well, depending on where you are. We're this part of Western New York, 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock, bars closed in this county. And then people are like, well, we want to drink more. Like, well, that's not my problem. Unfortunately, that's not my problem. And it all goes by county to county. Erie County, where Buffalo is, 4 o'clock. Or at least it used to be. I don't know if it is now. You go down the boroughs, I actually don't know what it is. I just know Erie County and Monroe County where I live. Because people would always say, well, in Buffalo, the bars are open until 4 o'clock. I was like, well, why are you in Rochester then? Go back to Buffalo. No one ever listened to me. They really should. Now, the penultimate game. This is UCLA and USC. Not very far from each other, basically almost right across the city of Los Angeles. This is for the Victory Bell. 1929, the first time they played. Then it was given to UCLA by a donor in 1939. And then basically it was stolen pretty much immediately after. It's always with the colleges and the stealing of things. They stole the bell, and it was hidden for a year until the following year, 1942. The bell returned, and it became a trophy. The frame, as you can see, is painted. We had one 2 weeks ago. I can't remember. I think it was in the American or the ACC. I cannot recall, but somebody had one of the trophies that they wheeled out. And this is another like that. The frame itself is then spray painted with the winning school's colors. USC, the Trojans, currently have the trophy. He's in the lead in the series, 51, 34, and 7, coming up November the 29th at UCLA. So we will see. Can the Bruins take back the Victory Bell? We'll find out in a couple of weeks. And the final one, we're going to throw a shout out to Cash and Dad's Packbusters because this involves their school. This is Washington versus Washington State. They are WSU guys. This one's cool. This is for the Apple Cup. Come on. The Apple Cup. Washington Apples, although we'll get to that in a minute. Came around in The rivalry began in 1900. The trophy came around originally as the Governor's Trophy from 1934 to about 1936. And then in 1963, the trophy was donated by the Washington Apple Commission, emblematic of Washington's national reputation as a major producer of apples. However, fun bonus fact, I still believe it used to be, and I still believe New York produces more apples and more varieties of apples than any other state in the Union. Who doesn't love apples? I know I do. Let's see. Washington currently has it. Sorry, Cash and Dad. And they have the lead in the series. Again, sorry, Cash and Dad. 77, 34, and 6. Not close, but time will tell. Next game will be played September the 5th of next year, 2026, for the Apple Cup. They've got some great ones. Like Paul Bunyan's axe, the old brass spittoon, a 98-pound pig, a 72-pound bull. Come on! Come on, guys. And Lincoln's hat, for God's sake. And a platypus, which, you know what? At this point, it's like the Animal House thing. Why Pinto? Why not? Why platypus? Why not? Platypus? Would multiple platypus be platypi? It is now. That's my theory on it. Now, a couple defunct ones. The first one, unfortunately, does make sense. This was Indiana versus Kentucky for the Battle of the Barrel. And the trophy itself was the bourbon barrel. It was an actual bourbon barrel. I don't think it ever actually said which distillery, but it was from some bourbon barrel. That was played from 1987 to 1999, and then, unfortunately, following an alcohol-related death of a University of Kentucky player, they decided to retire the trophy. They still play the game. The rivalry is still there, but it is not a trophy game any longer just due to the unfortunate circumstances. That one, unfortunately, it is what it is, and I get it. This one needs to come back, and I'm looking at you, U.S. Naval Academy. You'll see why in a second. This is Maryland versus the Naval Academy. And it is for, boom, the Crab Bowl. That is actually the trophy. That is not a mock-up. That is the Crab Bowl that they played for. Unfortunately, it hasn't been played for since 2010. It's been almost 15 years. That trophy is not coming back, and I believe it should. That thing was a thing of beauty and a thing of glory. The Crab Bowl, ladies and gentlemen. And then the final one, it's a very similar situation to a lot of the ones we saw last week in the Big 12. This is Nebraska versus Missouri. Shout out Julie Farnham. For the Victory Bell, it hasn't been played since 2010 when Nebraska joined the Big Ten. And again, I get it. I get it, but I don't. Well, okay. No, I do get it. But I don't like it. It's everything is just about money anymore. And it's just sad. I'm going to probably lament this most of the time. It is what it is. Because there's just too much cool, weird history. Can you imagine an entire... Where did they go, by the way? Dundee, Stuff, Floyd. Iowa and Minnesota. Can you imagine a world where Iowa or Minnesota football players are not aware of Floyd of Rosedale? You may have just heard of Floyd of Rosedale this evening, but you have to admit, your life would now be a little more sad if Floyd of Rosedale did not have a little bit of real estate up here. I don't know. We will see. That said, there still is a lot of good trophy games coming up. A lot of them coming up in the next couple of weeks, so I know I'm going to be looking for it. Why not? It should be fun. Again, my school, Division III. And then I found out we had a rivalry series, but they didn't have a trophy until... God, when did they actually come to get the trophy? I think they said 2010, 2011, 2012, maybe. I don't know. If we get to D3, if you guys haven't come for me by this point, when we get to the D3 stuff, then yeah, we'll talk about that, because the University of Rochester and Hobart College. We'll get to that point. We'll get to that at some point. So we're gonna wind it down. I love doing these, and I'm so thankful that Julie suggested doing this way back when. It's like, you know what? That's a lot of fun, because now I'm learning just how many crazy trophy games are out there, and I'm really enjoying the fact that they exist. So we're going to take one more sip. This is an American beer, so again, I will just butcher English. Cheers, my friends, and I hope you're doing well. Hopefully you had a safe Halloween and everything went well. You recovered from your Halloween parties? I know I have. You know why? I didn't go to one. So now we have one more. And what's coming next week? I don't know. Football Friday will be back. I had to bump it to today because Halloween. I forgot to look. What would be next, probably? Conference USA? I'd be willing to bet it'd be Conference USA. We'll find out We'll find out next week. But I'm going to leave you with this parting thought, my friends. And once again, I want to thank you so much for giving up a half hour of your life. Why you do, God knows why, but I am very grateful that you do if you do. Because this is fun. This is just a nice way to just relax, end the weekend, and just blow off some steam. I really do appreciate you coming by and taking the time. And I'm going to leave you with this weird parting thought, as I am wont to do. If you think about it, turtles can never have sleepovers because they always sleep at home. Have a good night, everybody.